If you're looking for the best budget dual motor e-scooter, check out what I have to show you in the next few minutes. Will the Kukirin G2 Ultra break or will it win? Let's inspect. Let's see about this performance and acceleration test as a starter. By the way, one of the very first videos I recorded with the Osmo Action 6. And you can see my full review on the channel in the coming weeks. Now, let's focus on the Kukirin G2 Ultra. It's sunny and the display's not so great, therefore I'm just gonna mount here on my chest strap. kph mode, and this is the race mode, meaning the fastest one with both motors involved. So yeah, off we go. Whoa! 25, 35, 40. This has been really fast. Kind of unexpected from just 1.6 kilowatts total. But that's what happens when you have a dual motor setup. It's really fun to ride. Acceleration is absolutely decent. Not mind-blowing, but definitely quicker than almost any single motor 1600 watt scooter, which makes sense because the guy runs two 800 watt motors. And honestly, I will always advocate for dual motor setups. They distribute the load better, they keep the motors cooler, they give you better traction, and they're just so much more fun. Of course, the price you pay is not only the money, it's also kilograms. Dual motor systems add the weight, and the G2 Ultra is no exception. You've seen it already. From 0 to 25 km per hour, it gets moving in just a couple of seconds, getting to 35 gets another 2 more, and going past 45 depends on battery level and terrain. But here's my honest advice: anything above 35 km per hour brings more risks than benefits. At these speeds, a fall is never just a fall. The time gained is minimal and power consumption skyrockets. But if you're after a fun, energetic, fast-feeling scooter that doesn't cost crazy money, this could be the right gear for you. In terms of battery life, the scooter is okay. Not amazing, but not disappointing either. And as with most Kukirin scooters, the battery indicator is almost never accurate. That's because it's voltage-based, and voltage fluctuates a lot under load. So if I were you, I'd start thinking about recharging when the indicator hits 30% consistently. Otherwise, you risk pushing this 30-kilogram body home. Kukirin typically uses budget-friendly battery cells, so treat them well. Avoid draining it to zero, avoid keeping it at maximum charge for long periods of time, and don't push full dual motor acceleration for extended periods. That's what batteries hate the most. Capacity is enough for around 50 kilometers if you ride only in the slowest mode. With my weight, real range is closer to 40 kilometers. And as always, city traffic with lots of stop and go reduces this even further. For example, on a 2-kilometer climb at around 10% incline in dual motor mode, I maintained roughly 40 kilometers per hour, but it ate about 15 to 20% of the full charge. So yeah, battery life isn't the scooter's strongest point, but design and build quality absolutely balance things out. Unboxing is fun, especially if you have someone to help you. If not, do yourself a favor, get the box from the bottom, leave the cardboard up instead of lifting the scooter out. Your back will thank you, trust me. Setup is simple: attach the handlebar, tighten the screws. A hex key is included, but for a scooter this powerful, I would have preferred something sturdier. With the integrated display, handlebar adjustments are limited, so take your time to align it properly. You also need to install the rear fender. It's plastic, but good news, a lot of Kukirin parts are now easily 3D printable. If something breaks, you can get a replacement in a few hours for almost nothing. And before the first ride, check the screws, the tire pressure, the brake alignment, and the battery charge. Visually, this thing is much closer to a slightly smaller G4 than any of the previous G2 models, and that's a compliment. The G4 is heavy as a tank, but also built like one, and the G2 Ultra inherits a lot of this durability. Before I give you my take on the specs, let's highlight the most important ones. Dual 800 watt motors, a large 48-volt battery, front and rear spring suspension, mechanical disc brakes, 10-inch vacuum tires, 120 kg maximum payload, basic water resistance, and a bright, full-color display. Well, specs, always interesting, but the really interesting part is the story behind them. Apparently with 29 Nm torque per motor, it is not class-leading, especially given the price. We can pretty easily get that, but having a dual motor setup is always a lot more fun as compared to single motor models. And yeah, if you think this is mud, you are very right to say that. Now, there's plenty that remains untested, and I want to cover in the next few minutes. We want to talk about the suspension, all the smart features, the safety precautions and the braking, and everything else you might want to find out about the G2 Ultra. Let's go! Suspension-wise, G2 Ultra comes with front and rear spring shocks, and they're both comfortable and responsive. This is one of the best suspension implementations I've seen on a Kukirin scooter thus far. It even looks like something that you can upgrade later if you ever want to. There are no creaks, no rattles, and the scooter feels solid when you hit bumps. Very refreshing at this price range. The thick 10-inch tires are a big win. They give the scooter a very stable, very planted feel, especially over rough city terrains or mixed surfaces. Grip is good in dry conditions, acceptable in slightly wet situations, and obviously not as good if it's really muddy. The braking is alright, you get basic mechanical disc brakes, they stop you reliably, but don't expect hydraulic level smoothness or bite. Mine needed adjustment right after unboxing, and depending on your unit, they may squeak. To be fair, Kukirin uses slightly larger rotors than many budget scooters, so the braking performance is decent, but I would have loved to see hydraulic brakes anyway. As a standard, the folding mechanism here is really reliable. Some remarks about this fabric hook, but carrying is kind of alright, just way too heavy. As for lighting performance, not perfect, but usable. You get a headlight, tail light and turn signals. The turn signal button, though, not very conveniently placed. The display is interesting. It's not bright enough under direct sunlight, but the interface itself is quite helpful. Settings are touch-controlled. You can adjust many parameters directly on the scooter. Unfortunately, these modes, including the switching to turbo mode during daytime, is pure guesswork because the indicator becomes almost invisible. The 3 speed modes, however, are easy to cycle through using a mechanical button, and still, I really wish this display's transflective MIP would have been perfect. See, we care about the display because there is no smartphone app. Classic Kukirin. No ride tracking, no firmware updates, no customization, nothing. Also no activation, which on the other hand is nice. A sweet escape from smart technology, depending on how paranoid you are. So before the wrap up, let's summarize what could be better given the budget line. The shock mounting areas aren't well designed. If mud gets in there, cleaning becomes a nightmare. Waterproofness is basic, so avoid deep puddles, and the overall design, it's a bit clunky, and the scooter feels heavy. Conclusion time, and I like it, but you know my opinion that any day I would pick a dual motor e-scooter over single motor setups, just because they're a lot more fun to ride. Now, nothing about the G2 Ultra is truly ultra, probably with exception for the price. And I think Kukirin are trying to give you a more affordable alternative to the G3 Pro, which has been very successful, and probably are trying to compete with the Joyor S10, which has been built a few years ago and many of the components feel outdated. Nothing here is remarkably good, but it covers the minimum, goes towards mid-range setup, and definitely worth checking, especially if you're on the hunt for your first dual motor off-roadish electric scooter. This is my opinion. Now it's you. Opinions, questions, experience you want to share, you can check in the comment section below the video. If you're on the hunt for buying an electric scooter, because this video is not sponsored and it's not an incentive to buy, so only do it if you really want to get a new scooter, check for a sweet deal in the video description area. And thank you very much for watching. Ride safely and responsibly, and I'll see you in the next one.